Today is a very exciting day here for me, if you're me, in my garage. And that's because we're actually going to start the turbo on the CRX. We're not installing a turbo, but we're installing the first part of the turbo build. And that is the intercooler. I have a 24 by 9 by 3.5 inch intercooler, custom made by Tony at aerace.com. It's going in the CRX today. We're going to unbolt things. We're going to bolt things. We're going to cut things. We're going to curse. We're going to hurt our hands. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go. Step one in installing an intercooler is removing this bumper. Now, if you were hoping for a step-by-step, all-inclusive guide to remove the bumper, I'm sorry this isn't the video for that, but don't worry, there's plenty on the internet. But while I'm here, I'm going to show you some of my anti-rattle technology that's super important when you have a 30-year-old Honda you're trying to keep nice. See, you got to have the foam so that your bumper doesn't rattle. You can stick this stuff everywhere. If you read my guide on installing the AIM dash, you saw I used felt tape to keep from having a rattly dash. But the real magic is the stress balls. I can thank my buddy Josh for those. These, you jam wherever your headlight would want to rattle. It's pretty great. Now let's talk about this intercooler, because it's not like most universals that you might get off the shelf. I said it was 23 inches, but that's the intercooler-y bit. The overall is more like 33 inches, and I said 3, but it's actually 3.5 inches deep on the intercooler core and 5.5 overall, because it has this, which is facing backwards, and that's what makes it a little bit different. It's gonna go in the car facing this way. So this goes off and through the stock air hole and then into the intake with different piping. And then the one that's facing backward is going to go right here through the core support to the turbo. To do that, of course, like many Hondas, we're going to have to cut from the bumper. Installing in a CRX is like installing in a Civic or an Integra, except for you always have a little bit less space. So we're going to mark and then cut. So as you can see, the Ryobi angle grinder does cut just fine, but I actually think I have another idea for how I want to finish this. So I did some more measuring, and that told me that I needed to be a little more aggressive with the cutting. So for that, I decided to break out the plasma cutter and the paint pen. So you can see where I marked it to cut around the intercooler. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're back inside, and this is cut to the shape I want. It's got some gnarly edges because I am still very new to plasma cutting, so I'm gonna take this down with my trusty flap wheel, make that a little less disgusting. Okay, that is smooth enough. I'm going to clean that up with some naphtha to get any oil, grease off, and then I'm going to hit it with some black paint so it doesn't rust. So I have the intercooler backwards right now because this gets in the way. Looking at what next modifications need to happen. So for these holes, bolts, holes, I'm going to need to drill through here and get a bolt down under there that goes into there on both sides. And then also, in order to put this through the back, some of this will have to be cut out, like right there. So mostly mocking up and measuring to make sure that I don't cut and drill the wrong places. And I want to get this intercooler as high up in here and as tight as possible so that less material needs to be removed from the bumper. This has to go no matter what, but this hopefully does not have to go anywhere. I have marked with a Sharpie while I was holding the intercooler up, so the lines are kind of janky, where it has to be cut. Obviously I'm not going to cut through the hood latch cable, so that's going to come out. And maybe I can reattach it here or zip tie it or something, I don't know. But for right now, this has to be cut a little bigger than this because that's like the exact size. So obviously I need to give myself a little gap around that. Unfortunately, the center where I want to put this guy is right on that shoulder of this bump. So I'm going to make a pilot hole and hopefully it's not a disaster. What I didn't account for was that this depth is less than this depth. So the hole saw goes and hits the back here before it actually gets to the other side. So I will have to break out the sawzall, reciprocating saw. So after using the hole saw to cut out here, find myself looking at this useless protrusion. So I might as well cut that off here and try to smooth that out. And same with this. Well, now this is open. Weird shapes are gone, but I've got gnarly, sharp edges everywhere. So we're gonna use door edge trim. It's like rubber, it's metal. I'll put a link in the description below to line that up and it'll be cool. So as you can see, that works out pretty well. This thing can hit all kind of crazy angles and curves. Shout out to Josh who showed me this on his Cressida. I'll drop a link to his IG in the description. This was clipped into the metal with this thing, but that is gone now. So now it's zip tied right there. Now we can see how this intercooler lines up. And there you have it. It now actually fits where it was supposed to go. I went ahead and put that door trim on the sharp edges of the bumper. This fits in here, and the back facing port fits into here, and this is all rubbered up. All right, after lots of careful eyeballing, I've decided that this is centered, and that right there is where I'm going to drill holes to bolt this up. So I quickly realized that putting bolts down from here to here was super dumb. So I took the bumper off entirely so that I could bolt it from the back on both sides. So now it's just between one piece of metal, got some washers in there. It's super legit. Watch this. And it's there. So now for the scary part, because I only have one painted bumper. Got to cut along here and remove this whole section, and hopefully that's enough. So I've popped the front lip off because I'm going to have to cut this edge off here, and I'd rather not try to cut through the bumper cover and the lip at the same time. So as you can see, I drew a line in there, and then I decided I would actually be a little less aggressive and cut out here. By the way, if you don't have one of these, this is by far the easiest way to cut through plastic and get, as you can see, a pretty straight line. I'll put a link in the description. I like this thing a lot. So that's all the way around. I just need to cut out the bottom, which of course is going to be harder. So, managed to get that out in one piece without making a total mess. I still need to cut straight across here and clean up these edges, of course. Okay, now test fit this. If it fits and I don't need to cut any more, I can clean up these edges, cut that part off of the lip that I removed, and install this, maybe. Let's see. So there you have it. After lots of test fitting and dremeling and test fitting and dremeling, all of which I definitely am cutting out of the video and not making you sit through, the bumper is on, it fits, it doesn't look half bad. I will be painting in here black and maybe putting a mesh here. But other than that, the intercooler is installed. Stay tuned for the future videos where we'll be doing the rest of the entire turbo.